if they want to. Talk don't bother me. I want the whole wide world to know that I love you so.
And welcome to Let Them Talk. I'm Paul DeRienzo.
And I'm Miss Joan Marie Musi.
And our guest is designer, artist Matthew Langille. Welcome to Let Them Talk, Matthew.
Yeah,
thanks for having
coming.
me.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
And in a few moments, we'll be showing you some examples of his work. And Matthew, can you tell us a little bit about your background? Because you're pretty young to have as many clients as you have as a designer and to have achieved what you've done. Joni and you met. Why don't you start with how you met?
Oh yeah, we met at a MoMA artist party.
What's MoMA?
That I Museum of Modern Art, that I attended with Philip Van Aver, who's a great friend of this show and been on our show many times. And we were just mingling and enjoying the evening, and we met Matthew and his wife Karen. And I went and looked at his website after that and thought he would be fantastic on the show. So
What brought you to the Museum of Modern Art?
The Museum of Modern Art, it was great. My grandfather, actually, Harold Kreisel, has a print or two in the Museum of Modern Art's collection. And so my grandmother is too old to attend these parties, so I'm lucky enough to get the invites.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, granted, I mean, my wife and I always will go to the parties because they're fun and exclusive. And it was a Tim Burton exhibit, so that's really close to my heart, and it's very similar to what I do in that what I do is very whimsical and edgy and in the same sort of vein without that kind of gothic approach. And so we went, and we were schmoozing, having some of the free booze, and we got to talking, and one thing led to another, and here we are.
Great.
So yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your work, your design work. How do you become a designer?
How I became a designer. Well, I actually started glass blowing. I studied Venetian glass blowing when I was 11 up until I went to college. So I went to Alfred University. And so I studied glass blowing from 11 to maybe 18 or 19 when I realized that all the cute girls in my college were in the design and printmaking program. So I swiftly changed gears, and I got into the design and printmaking department, where I was lucky enough to meet my wife, who was a transfer student from Venezuela. So that was good stuff. And then, I taught myself to draw, and I still think that I'm not very good at drawing. But what I did was I embraced the fact that my drawings weren't that typical illustration, that there was something unique to the fact that I wasn't, one of these draw your faces they are kind of artists. Mm-hmm. So I said, this is an interesting thing. Let me embrace the fact that I'm not, this typical illustrator and go with it and even at the same time market it and try to make a living off of it. Mm-hmm. And things kind of snowballed from there, and I did some work for by Marc Jacobs. And
he's a clothing designer.
The clothing designer who's very popular.
What kind of work did you do for him, for clothing designer?
For him, I've done several T-shirts and a couple bags for graphics for Marc by Marc Jacobs, and with all from tweens up to 40, 50-year-olds, everyone loves Marc Jacobs. So that really snowballed from there.
Okay.
And you also do fabric design, right?
Yeah, I do. Well, I do a lot of work in the fashion industry and a lot of stuff with different design firms and fashion firms all around the world.
Now tell us what's unique about fabric design, because it is a certain thing, isn't it? I mean, it has to repeat, it has to...
Yeah, it's tricky stuff. I mean, in the end, really, it's all the same. I mean, for me, whatever product I'm working on basically serves as the template for me to work on. So, whether it be Swatch, which I did, I've actually done 4 watches, one of which is out now, the Valentine's Day watch, which is a special 2010
Valentine's issue. Yeah.
And basically, they, gave me the template of a watch to work with, and that was basically my canvas to work on. The same goes for fabric and
so they actually give
t-shirts.
you like an outline of the size and shape
yeah,
of the watch.
Basically they give me the parameters, as any client would, and they say, design within these parameters, and then you have to, take that template, whatever it may be, and fit your artwork to it. So, in a way, that was my canvas. And
well, let's talk a little bit more about the Swatch watches, because you've got
Okay.
the Valentine one that's out right now.
Yeah.
That's the 2010 Valentine
Yeah.
edition.
Yeah.
But you also have 3 other ones, and let's
Well,
start with.
let's say this. You were saying earlier you get no royalties from this.
well, I don't know. I mean, I'm not particularly supposed to discuss the compensation and things like that. But for the Swatch project, it was 3 watches for the Creart collection. And the Creart collection basically is the artist collection for Swatch. And it goes back to, I think I may be wrong on the dates, but it goes back to, the mid-1980s when Keith Haring designed one or several watches for Swatch. And along with Keith Haring, the same people who have contributed to the artist collection that I just contributed to are, people like Helmut Newton, Vivienne Westwood, Annie Leibovitz, Yoko Ono, Spike Lee. I mean, the list goes on and on.
So you're in great company.
To be in that company is humbling and amazing. And actually, I've never worked with a better client than Swatch. It was
That's
really, they really let me design everything from top to bottom. And it was really a wonderful, wonderful experience. And so that artist collection was really well received globally, all over the world. And
Well, let's talk a little bit about the imagery on the watches, because you've got one that's the germophobic.
Germaholic.
Germaholic.
The Germaholic, it's a funny watch. It, from start to finish, it is a long time when it comes to the watch world. No pun intended, but it takes quite a long time for that watch to hit the market. So I created the Germaholic, which basically I'm a bit of a hypochondriac myself. So what I did was I created.
Maybe we go look at it while we're talking.
Yeah,
great.
what I did
We'll
was
go to it here.
I created a germ that was basically a hypochondriac. So the watch Germaholic is basically a germ screaming at the top of his lungs because he's can't stand being around all these other germs, and so he's kind of stuck in this, in this germ-covered world. And ironically enough, I'm only 27 years old, so I designed it when I was maybe 24, and it came out maybe around the time I was 26, or maybe when I was 26, or I just turned 27. And this was right after the whole pandemic swine flu thing happened.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, I couldn't have timed it any better, but granted, I wasn't the one responsible for H1N1. But I remember
And it
thinking...
is not an H1N1 germ.
No, of course not. But I mean, the timing couldn't have been any better. And I remember watching CNN thinking, oh, man, like, if this affects my trip to Venice where we launched the watches, then, I mean, how ironic, but also, oh, man. So... yeah, that was great, and...
how did you come up with the image there of the germ? Were you just doodling around at the home or at your house? Or?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was very much a doodle in the sense it didn't really become a germ until I colored it green. And then I said to myself, this became a germ. It was very organic. And from there it took off. I mean, it was a bestseller throughout the world for quite a while, along with one of my other ones.
Did the H1N1 connection contribute to the fact that people were wearing it to say?
I don't know. My
as a
doctor,
statement?
my doctor, who I see maybe every Wednesday because I'm so much of a hypochondriac. She has one, and my friend who's a surgeon has one, and so the medical community, I'm sure, are loving it.
Yeah, right.
And yeah, it's probably been a little added a little chuckle, I think, to all the consumers out there who are buying
Right.
it.
Well, and it is a unique concept to personify a germ. So
Right, exactly. I mean, I thought that was and a lot of my work is typically talked about as being witty and edgy and sardonic, and things of that nature. So,
Right.
But it also seems very happy.
yeah. Well, I think that the best part. I mean, in order to make something witty, there has to be some sort of humor to it, right? And also some sort of sarcasm. So for me, a lot of what I do is what I'm known for is adding things to clouds. So
I love the cloud watch.
And the cloud, and this is floating away, which I attach numbers to the watch, to kind of give an idea that time is just kind of floating by. But in the past, one of the first T-shirts I designed for by Marc Jacobs was a bird hanging from a cloud, and and since then I've hung homes hanging from a cloud, and that became mobile homes, and I hung hearts hanging from a cloud, and that became long distance relationship, and whatever I attached to a cloud, it gave it this witty context. So I just released a line of wall decals for a company called Surface Graphics, and it's surfacegraphics.com actually. One of the 3 designs is a cloud with 3 Z's hanging from it. So it's kind of this idea of obviously sleeping, and but it's really nice.
Clouds
design.
and sleeping have a natural association.
Exactly. So that was just, it was bound to happen. But that was a little bit less of a witty spin on it than normal for me. But yeah, that was.
Well, let's look at a few others. If,
Okay,
maybe you can design.
Yeah.
You show us where we're going. Where should I go? Where should I?
Well, we could show them the Valentine's Day watch, which is out now, which is the first.
Over here.
And this was basically a watch that was dedicated to my wife and to basically our marriage, which is just shy of a year and a half now. And it was basically using our wedding colors, which were white, red, and black. And basically it just says hugs, miss you, love you, along the strap. And then I designed the packaging as well, which came with a journal and a pencil inside of a little tin.
Oh, that's what this is here.
Yeah, and it's doing. It seems to be doing very well, and it really sums up our marriage and our relationship. So it was really sweet. So
here's the one we were discussing earlier, right? The cloud.
Yeah, floating away, which was attaching numbers to clouds. And
all right, and that's your numbers right there. Very good. How about the next picture? We can keep going. And
this was Snuggle Bunch, which is very, very popular in Asia. And big billboards out there of these characters, which basically the concept was all these little bears kind of jammed onto the watch, trying to get onto the watch, trying to get attention to some regard. And if you've ever lived in New York City, it's kind of like being on that subway. That subway car just kind of jammed in there on rush hour, and
or in Tokyo.
Or in Tokyo, for that matter. Yeah, sure. Except people are a lot more polite in Tokyo, from what I understand.
Okay. Well, let's look further down and some other objects that you have in items. How about these sandals?
Yes, those were some pear. They were called pear Havaianas that I designed, which are very popular.
Is that like a pair of?
Yes, I suppose you could look at it like that. Yeah.
A pun.
It was a pair of Havaianas I designed for obviously the very popular Brazilian company Havaianas, who's very famous for their flip-flops. Probably the most fashionable flip-flops sandals out there.
Now, I wanted to ask you, I ask a lot of artists this about collaboration, and of course in visual work it's a little bit more difficult. Like when we're talking to musicians, of course it's very obvious that they're constantly collaborating with each other. But I did see that you collaborated for the first time with your wife on a water bottle.
Yes.
And I love it. I'm from New Orleans.
Is this water bottle here?
Of course
yeah, and that, my wife
Jazz
and I,
Night.
was our first collaboration together. And it was for SIG, which is a very popular Swiss bottle company.
It's like a reusable metal water
it's
bottle.
reusable, environmentally conscious, which is something is very close to my heart. And it was for an artist collection, artist series based on America. And so this was basically our homage to the whole jazz scene, New Orleans feel. And art directed by me and much more designed by my wife.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what's the process in a situation like that? Like
the process,
talking,
love, talking, learning. It's very interesting because working with your loved one is an interesting thing. So, and it's a very challenging thing because you'll let each other have it. But it was great. It turned out really well. And, again, Keith Haring does a lot. Well, his work is licensed to a lot of the SIG bottles, and he was one of the artists in the collection as well. But
how about your T-shirt you're wearing right now? Did you design that?
no, I wish. This is designed by Christian Lacroix for the Environmental Justice Foundation, the EJF, and I actually just finished a design for them based on overfishing and pirate fishing and saving the sea. And,
oh, really?
And that should be out.
So what is EJF? Environmental Justice?
Environmental Justice Foundation. So it's a great organization that deals with just, dealing with fair trade and speaking about these environmental concerns, such as,
What are some of those designs? Do you have any of those on your
Some
site?
of those, no, they're not out yet, so I don't have them on my website. But some, they discuss, how cotton is being used nowadays, and, you just basically the big environmental issues, and they deal with it in such a
and it'll be T-shirts mostly, or
no? I mean, the T-shirts basically are just a way to garner interest and I think raise money towards their message.
Right.
So I was happy to take part in that, especially because such amazing designers as Christian Lacroix and Luella Bartley and all these great people I've been doing. So yeah, again, I'm humbled to be within such great company.
Sure. Well, tell us a little bit more about some of your projects.
Some more projects.
First, before we go to that, Matthew Langille, who's joined us to talk about his design work, maybe you can tell us how people can learn more about your work. What's your website?
You can learn more about my work by going to www.matthewlangille.com, and I'll spell it for you. So it's MATTHEWLANGILLE.com. And I also have a blog as well, which you can get into from the website as well.
Yeah,
great.
it'll link you over there.
Yeah, it'll link you right over there, and
Sure.
so you can just check out my website for that. But some upcoming projects I have I'm designing a line of men's and women's jeans with my special little touch with Rico Jeans, which is ricojeans.com, and they are basically going to have my own little twist and spin on them, so
designs that will be printed on the jeans.
No, not necessarily. More simple touches, So maybe an accent on the button, maybe something special on the lining of the jeans. But you have to stay tuned to see the outcome of that one.
Comes up.
Yeah, and I also, I think I mentioned it before. I'm doing something for surfacegraphics.com, which is surface-graphics.com.
I've heard of those. It's like a removable, so
It's
you can
a
sort of
removable
change
wall
your decor.
decal.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is
And
Can they
fantastic.
pretty
great.
much do anything they want technologically with images nowadays?
In terms of wall application?
About any application. I mean, it sounds like you could put an image anywhere you want nowadays.
It seems that way. Although it is much...
Well, there's a lot of companies,
Yeah,
like
it depends
fabric
on the product.
companies,
It depends on the product, totally.
that'll do like a custom print for you. and
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
There's a lot more of that than there used to be.
Are there many technical limitations when you're doing this? I mean,
Yeah, I think everything has its technical limitation. For, watches, there are certain things you can do and you can't do. For the wall decals, there's certain ways that make it more accessible for people, the consumer that are buying it, to applicate it to the wall. So, so that's definitely something to consider.
Right. And they have like engineers or people who work with you on that aspect of it to help you.
Yeah, the owners of the company, and other than
They'll
that,
tell you.
basically the engineers are the machines.
Yeah, right.
Nowadays.
That's how it comes out.
Yeah, it depends
Sure.
on your relationship with the machine,
Uh-huh.
depending on the outcome. So.
Well, do you design on a computer mostly, or on paper, or how do you do it?
Well, what I do is I start with a stack of computer paper, and I only use pen or Sharpie. And that way I feel like it doesn't give me the opportunity to erase. So I get a much more organic and gestural line. And then from there, I'll scan my work into the computer. I'll clean it up a little if I have to, which is very rare. And then I'll color it on the computer. But I also I'm a big fan of Crayola crayons, and I'll use crayons and things of that nature. But for more commercial uses and when it's going on a product, I'll color it on the computer.
I see.
I find that using just a stack of paper and just tearing through it and waiting until I get that good drawing that pops out at me really lends itself to my whimsical gestural
Wow. Do
feel.
you recycle a lot of paper?
I recycle quite a lot of paper, but it's important to know that I recycle the paper. I'm good about that.
Do you have a shredder?
I have a shredder, but oftentimes I'll just crumple up the
Wow.
the mistakes.
Have you ever find anybody going through your garbage?
No, I hope not. I mean, and if they do, I hope they don't publish it. But
Right.
but that's a whole other story, and my lawyer can deal with that.
Yeah, we have a friend who's the expert on garbology.
Right. We had him on, A.J. Weberman. Talking about that, how about how nowadays do you make sure your image isn't just taken over by people because it's on the internet? People can just pull it off, use
Sure.
it anywhere you want. What's the policy on that? How do you handle that?
I think first of all, I think it's flattering if someone copies you nowadays. I mean, I don't encourage it because I do have my own legal team that deals with issues like that, and I do the necessary things such as copywriting and intellectual property rights and dealing with that. But I think you have to understand that it is out there, and it's something that someone can try to copy. But my stuff is a little bit unique in the sense that it isn't done on just a computer program. It's done by hand, so it's difficult to get the same quality and same line that I have.
see.
So
Very
yeah.
good. Well, let's look at some more of your materials over
Yeah,
here.
can we look
have
at
with
some
us.
of the fabric designs? Is
Yeah.
that possible?
For sure.
Where is that? Is that on this segment here, or can we?
I think you got to go to a different section.
No, I mean that's probably the
right here.
best area. That's a good example. This is for a company called Tom out of Australia, and the owner Carly did a wonderful job taking my designs, my all-over prints, which are basically repeat prints, and turning them into shorts for kids. And she was great because she really respected the integrity of my color and design, and I think they came out really, really great.
And here's a T-shirt here. Just pick one at random.
This is a T-shirt that I did for a record company called Ubiquity Records, and this was a play on basically those toy kits, plain models. Basically.
Oh yeah, that you pop out.
Exactly. And that was more of an urban theme.
And I love these socks.
Thanks. This is for a very popular baby company called Trumpet, and they're very popular for their sock designs. So this was a line of socks that I designed with them. This is, once again, Havaianas out of Brazil. And this was basically right before the Dark Knight Batman premiere. And I basically did something for them and Warner Brothers.
I guess those are there. They own those.
Those are their designs. Basically,
Yeah.
my job was just to lay them out, come up with
Right.
composition, things of that nature.
Another one, right?
This is my most recent design for Mark by Marc Jacobs. It's called the Flamingo Valley Tee, I believe. It's and you can find that now online. And so that's the new one.
And do these kind of things.
And this was a line that was inspired by a design that I did for Mark by Marc Jacobs, which was a cat tee, which is about 2 designs.
Okay,
in
so
from
they
that.
took that and made it into a 3-dimensional
Yeah,
object.
they
Right.
took this design, which was drawn by me, which was also art directed by a friend of mine, and basically was a silk T-shirt, and kind of had this patchwork feel to it. Very beautiful, and they developed a line of accessories to go with that.
That's a great color. Too.
This was a T-shirt I did for Marc Jacobs that came prior to that. That was called Glasses Half Full, I believe, which was cute and it really did well too. This is a great company called Munster Kids out of Australia, and this was designed for them, which again is for babies and kids, and it's one of
Do
the.
you get a lot of business from children's type
You know,
of firms?
Yeah, I do a lot of business in kids and baby companies, and I get a lot of work out of Australia and Asia Pacific, ironically enough. And they have a really great sense of style, great taste. They really, let me go with my aesthetic, and this is bags I did for Envirosac, which is again, an eco-conscious.
It's like a reusable
Shopping
yeah.
bag out of Australia. Really, really great company. and they really are great. You can find them in a lot of museum stores and stores all
There's
over.
more kids.
Again, stuff for trumpet, more socks, and
Sock scene.
And bags.
more stuff for Envirosac. Yeah. A little card there for Cynthia Steffi, a fashion designer. Some cards and notepads for Geordie Blueprints, a good company. The design I did for Lug, which is a great bag company out of Canada. This again was for Trumpet. And I'm a bit of a product, for lack of a better word, whore. Basically for me, what makes me happy is to see my designs on products. And
What about to see your designs walking down the street towards you?
that's, again, another humbling thing. I mean, it's incredible to see someone wearing a watch I designed, or
a
t-shirt, or flip-flops, or,
Let's
anything.
go back to the germ.
Anything like that, yeah. So the Germaholic, which is something that it seems everyone always goes right back to, But and again, you can see all of this on www.matthewlangille.com. So it's MATTHEWLANGILLE.com. So.
All right,
Yeah,
Matthew.
check it out and the blog.
Right.
Yeah.
So anything you'd like to add in the last minute and a half we have here about your work, what people should understand about what you do in your design work?
Basically, I'm one of these artists that's kind of sick of all this heavy artwork. I think that people need to take a little bit of time to just laugh and enjoy life, and so I try to find the witty ways to twist things and make life more fun. So
Bring some joy.
yeah, I think that's the most important for people to understand. Important thing for people to understand about my work. And I just hope that people like it and it's well received as it has been. I'm only 27, so in the last 5 years,
Yeah, so far so good.
yeah, it's snowballed into
Right.
quite a great thing.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah.
And do you know, because you were talking about how you're popular in the East Asian market, and Hello Kitty was huge there, and
Yeah.
everybody wants to.
Still huge.
It's still huge. So
It's still being licensed from head to toe, and I'd like to consider the work I do as a type of American Hello Kitty, in the sense that it really lends itself to all sorts of products, all sorts of markets, all sorts of ages. So I find it unique in that sense. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, it definitely has a wide range of
Will
appeal.
you expect to see something of yours in the design section of the Museum of Modern Art?
I hope so. I mean, a lot of the stuff I've done, is often sold in the MoMA store and Museum of Modern Art store, and I'm working on some things right now that could just very well be there. So.
All right, Matthew Langille, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having
Paul
me.
DeRienzo, Joan Musi. We'll see you next week.